Hello students, welcome to the 7th session of Molecular Basis of Inheritance. Let's look into regulation of gene expression. Regulation of gene expression refers to a very broad term that may occur at various levels. Considering that gene expression results in the formation of a polypeptide, it can be regulated at several levels. In eukaryotes, regulation could be exerted at transcriptional level, processing level, transport of mRNA from nucleus to cytoplasm, or at translational level. The genes in a cell are expressed to perform a particular function or a set of functions. For example, if an enzyme called beta-galactosidase is synthesized by E. coli, it is used to catalyze the hydrolysis of a disaccharide lactose into galactose and glucose. The bacteria use them as the source of energy. Hence, if the bacteria do not have lactose around them to be utilized for energy source, they would no longer require the synthesis of the enzyme beta-galactosidase. Therefore, in simple terms, it is the metabolic, physiological, or environmental conditions that regulate the expression of genes. The development and differentiation of embryo into adult organisms are also a result of the coordinated regulation of expression of several sets of genes. In prokaryotes, control of the rate of transcriptional initiation is the predominant site for control of gene expression. In a transcription unit, activity of RNA polymerase at a given promoter is in turn regulated by interaction with accessory proteins which affect its ability to recognize start sites. These regulatory proteins can act both positively and negatively. The accessibility of a promoter regions of prokaryotic DNA is in many cases regulated by the interaction of proteins with sequences termed operators. The operator region is adjacent to the promoter element in most operons, and in most cases, the sequences of the operator bind a repressor protein. Each operon has its specific operator and specific repressor. For example, lac operator is present only in the lac operon and it interacts specifically with lac repressor only. Watch this video to understand more about regulation of gene expression.
Gene regulation, in the most simplest terms, is the ability of an organism to control or regulate what proteins it makes from its DNA. In our body, we have numerous types of tissues and cells. We have muscle cells known as myocytes, we have cells in our intestines known as enterocytes, and the cells in our skin known as keratinocytes. All these cells are different in shapes, sizes, and functions as well. The myocytes' main job is muscle contraction, enterocytes produce enzymes for food digestion, and keratinocytes form a barrier known as skin. All these cells contain the same DNA in them. However, they are different in sizes, structure, and function due to the different proteins they produce. As most of you may know, our DNA is made up of thousands of nucleotide bases which are paired, and these are the basic units of DNA. The human DNA contains over 3.1 billion such base pairs. These base pairs are arranged in groups known as genes. Now, if you take out the DNA from the nucleus of a muscle cell, a skin cell, and a cell from the intestine, they would contain the same 3.1 billion base pairs of nucleotides arranged in the same sequence. But despite having the same DNA in them, they are completely different, and this is because of the different proteins they produce. This is all possible due to the ability of the cell to control or regulate what proteins it makes from its DNA. In a broad sense, the genes in our DNA can be divided into two main groups: structural genes, which code for proteins, and regulatory genes, which regulate the proteins that are produced by the structural genes. We have about 20,400 structural genes in our DNA that code for the various proteins. But you would be surprised to know that makes up only about 2% of our DNA. The vast 98% of our DNA does not code for any proteins and is mostly regulatory. This non-coding regulatory DNA is responsible for gene regulation. Through this process of gene regulation, a cell can also increase or decrease the production of a specific protein when it needs. For example, the B cells in your body produce antibodies that fight off infections. The antibodies are also proteins and are produced at a relatively low level in the absence of a particular infection. But in the case of an infection, the production of antibodies can increase many times over, all through the upregulation of genes that are producing these antibodies. Another common example includes the beta cells in your pancreas that produce the hormone insulin. Now, these cells do not produce insulin at a constant rate, but rather increase or decrease the production of insulin depending upon the amount of glucose that is present in our bloodstream. This is possible because the beta cells of pancreas have special receptors in them that enables them to sense the amount of glucose in the blood. When the blood glucose rises, it is noticed by these receptors, which sends the information to the cell's DNA. The regulatory genes located behind the insulin genes note this and increase the amount of insulin that is being produced by the structural genes. This is one simple example of gene regulation. Gene regulation works in thousands of ways, but in this video we will look at a very basic model of gene regulation that operates in a bacteria known as E. coli, and this is known as the lac operon. Now, there are many things that I would like to explain before beginning with the lac operon, but one important concept here is the central dogma of gene expression. Now, to keep it very simple, the central dogma basically says that the information is copied from DNA to RNA, which is known as transcription, and from RNA to proteins, which is known as translation. So the gene regulation can work at multiple levels in this model of gene expression, but the most common point where the gene regulation operates is at the level of transcription, the point where the information on the DNA is copied onto RNA. Now, like we discussed earlier in this video, we have structural genes that code for proteins, and then we have regulatory DNA which regulates the proteins the structural DNA makes. Let's look at how this regulatory portion of DNA is usually arranged and what is the most common mechanism in gene regulation. Now, suppose we have two genes on this chromosome that code for protein A and protein B. Just before these two protein coding genes, we have the regulatory DNA that is shown in blue, which controls these genes. The regulatory portion of DNA is usually arranged into a regulatory sequence that is shown in light blue and regulatory gene, which is shown in dark blue. The regulatory sequence is usually a few hundred to thousand base pair long sequence that lies just behind the main protein coding genes, and it is the site of attachment of the enzyme RNA polymerase. This enzyme copies the information on the genes A and B onto an mRNA. That is the process of transcription. The main regulatory gene usually lies a few thousand base pairs behind the protein coding genes, and this regulatory gene synthesizes a protein known as the regulatory protein. The regulatory protein goes on and controls the binding of enzyme RNA polymerase to the regulatory sequence, increasing it or decreasing it depending upon the situation. So this is the basic model of how gene regulation works at the level of transcription. We have regulatory genes that control the rate of transcription of the protein coding genes, also known as the structural genes. The regulatory sequence is in turn divided into an operator, promoter, and many other parts, the details of which we will talk about later in this video. But you can just remember that depending upon whether the cell needs these proteins or not, the regulatory gene synthesizes regulatory protein that can block or promote the binding of RNA polymerase to the regulatory sequence, and thus decreasing or increasing the synthesis of proteins from the structural genes. This is obviously different for different types of genes.
Let's learn about the lac operon. The elucidation of the lac operon was also a result of a close association between a geneticist Francis Jacob and a biochemist Jack Monod. They were the first to elucidate a transcriptionally regulated system. Here, lac refers to lactose. In lac operon, a polycistronic structural gene is regulated by a common promoter and regulatory genes. Such arrangement is very common in bacteria and is referred to as operon. The lac operon consists of one regulatory gene, that is I gene, and three structural genes Z, Y, and A. The I gene codes for the repressor of the lac operon. The Z gene codes for beta galactosidase, which is primarily responsible for the hydrolysis of the disaccharide lactose into its monomeric units, galactose and glucose. The Y gene codes for permease, which increases permeability of the cell to beta galactosides. The A gene encodes a trans acetylase. Hence, all the three gene products in lac operon are required for metabolism of lactose. In most other operons as well, the genes present in the operon are needed together to function in the same or related metabolic pathway. Lactose is the substrate for the enzyme beta galactosidase, and it regulates switching on and off of the operon. Hence, it is termed as inducer. In the absence of a preferred carbon source such as glucose, if lactose is provided in the growth medium of the bacteria, the lactose is transported into the cell through the action of permease. Lactose then induces the operon in the following manner. The repressor of the operon is synthesized from the I gene. The repressor protein binds to the operator region of the operon and prevents RNA polymerase from transcribing the operon. In the presence of an inducer such as lactose or allolactose, the repressor is inactivated by the interaction with the inducer. This allows RNA polymerase access to the promoter and transcription proceeds. Essentially, regulation of lac operon can also be visualized as regulation of enzyme synthesis by its substrate. Regulation of lac operon by repressor is referred to as negative regulation. Lac operon is under control of positive regulation as well. Let's understand more about lac operon through this video.
Gene regulation of the lac operon was the first genetic regulatory mechanism to be understood clearly, so it has become a foremost example of prokaryotic gene regulation. Now, if we look at the term itself, it is made up of two words, lac and operon. Lac meaning lactose, which is a disaccharide sugar present in the milk. The word operon means a group. So basically, lac operon is a group of genes that regulates the metabolism of lactose. If you have watched the video on translation and transcription, you know that the information from DNA is copied onto an RNA by the enzyme RNA polymerase. The RNA is then read by ribosomes, which uses this information to make proteins. An operon consists of a group of genes whose information is copied by the RNA polymerase onto a single mRNA, which is then read by the ribosomes and converted into different proteins. This bacteria, the E. coli, is a normal resident bacteria in our gut, so it eats whatever you eat. Most of the time you eat carbohydrate containing foods that are easily broken down into glucose in your gut. This same glucose is used as an energy source by the bacteria in your gut. Glucose is fast and easy to use energy source as it need not to be broken down into simple sugars further. The milk sugar, which is a disaccharide, is made up of two simple sugars, the glucose and the galactose. Now this bacteria usually avoids breaking down lactose because of two important reasons. First, breaking down lactose requires energy which is less efficient than utilizing a simple ready-to-use sugar like glucose, which need not to be broken down any further. And second, glucose is almost always an abundant energy source. So when glucose is available, there is no point in spending energy to break down another sugar to use it for energy. But when glucose is not present, lactose becomes precious. The bacteria has to use it, otherwise it will starve. So the bacteria essentially needs a switch that allows it to change its metabolism depending upon the type of substrate that is available. It would be wasteful to produce enzymes when no lactose were available, or if a preferable energy source such as glucose were available like we discussed. So let's talk a bit more about the structure of lac operon, and that will help you to understand the whole concept in a better way. So this is lac operon. This is basically a small piece of bacterial DNA and consists of a few important genes that code for the enzymes that allows the bacteria to break down lactose. The lac operon can be broadly divided into two important regions: the structural genes and the regulatory portion. The structural genes code for the enzymes, whereas the regulatory region of lac operon controls or regulates these structural genes. The regulatory region of lac operon allows the bacteria to essentially switch on or off the structural genes depending upon whether lactose is available or not. There are three important structural genes in the lac operon that are known as LAC-Z, LAC-Y, and LAC-A. LAC stands for lactose, the sugar for which these genes make the enzymes for, and Z, Y, A are arbitrary alphabets used to denote the names of these genes. The gene LAC-Z codes for the enzyme beta-galactosidase. As you may know by now that the sugar lactose is a disaccharide, meaning it is made up of two simple sugars, glucose and galactose, joined by a glycosidic bond. The enzyme beta-galactosidase breaks the bond between glucose and galactose, thus converting lactose, which is a disaccharide, into two simple sugars. The gene LAC-Y codes for the protein beta-galactoside permease, which is basically a tube-like protein that fits into the cell membrane of the bacteria and allows more and more lactose to be pumped into the cell. That is why it is known as beta-galactoside permease, because it increases the permeability of the cell membrane to beta-galactosides, which includes sugars like lactose. The third structural gene in the lac operon codes for beta-galactoside transacetylase. an enzyme that transfers an acetyl group from acetyl-CoA to beta-galactosides. Its function is not fully understood in the metabolism. So these are the three structural genes of lac-operon. The region in blue is a regulatory portion of lac-operon, and it is divided into many sub-regions. We have the LAC-I gene, which codes for the protein repressor. We also have a promoter, an operator. We also have a cap site, and at the end of lac-operon, we have a terminator. At first, these may seem difficult, but I'll try to explain them in such a manner that you'll remember the regulation of lac-operon in a better way. So we have our enzyme RNA polymerase that has to copy the information of three structural genes of lac-operon onto an mRNA. Now, RNA polymerases always bind at a site located just behind the structural genes, and this is known as the promoter. Just in front of the promoter, we have our operator, and you can remember that the operator as a switch which can be turned on or off. When it is turned off, the RNA polymerase cannot move forward on the DNA, and hence it cannot read what's written on it, so the genes are not transcribed. When it is turned on, the RNA polymerase on the promoter can now move forward, and the genes ZYA are transcribed into a mRNA, which is then used to make proteins. Now, I remember that while learning this, I always used to forget whether the RNA polymerase binds with the promoter or the operator. Well, you can memorize this by just remembering that promoter starts with P, so it binds with RNA polymerase, which also starts with P. P for promoter and P for polymerase. Now the next thing to understand here is what turns the operator on or off, and this is basically the whole concept of gene regulation in lac-operon. Now here comes the role of a gene that is located a few thousand base pairs behind the promoter, and this is known as the LAC-I gene, where I is standing for inducible. So this gene continuously synthesizes a protein that is known as a repressor. The repressor is a claw-like protein which can exist in two different forms. When the repressor attaches its claws to the operator, this is known as the bound state, and this is when the red light is turned on by the operator, meaning it is turned off. The RNA polymerase cannot move forward on the DNA because there is literally a roadblock sitting in its way that prevents it from moving forward on the DNA, and the genes are then not transcribed. And you must also note here that this is usually the normal state of lac-operon 90% of the times. In the off position, the LAC-I gene continuously synthesizes the repressor protein which goes on and binds to the operator. The operator becomes a roadblock and the enzyme RNA polymerase cannot move forward, hence shutting off the translation of genes Z, Y, and A. Now, since you don't drink milk all day long and the abundant supply of glucose in your gut, the bacteria doesn't need to turn it on most of the times, which saves a lot of energy for this simple bacteria. Now, one more thing that you should remember here is that the LAC-I gene is in a constant state of transcription, meaning it produces the repressor all the time, and it is not like the LAC-I gene stops making the repressor and then the lac-operon turns on. So the question here is, what turns a lac-operon on? And the answer to this question is milk and the sugar lactose that is present in milk. This protein, the repressor, has a very soft spot for milk. It likes milk, and whenever it gets some, it becomes happy. And what I mean by it becomes happy is that it changes its configuration whenever it gets milk. See, like I told you, the repressor is normally in a bound state with the operator that prevents the RNA polymerase from moving forward on the DNA. But the repressor has a site on its back which recognizes lactose, and when lactose fits into this lactose binding site, the repressor changes its configuration. The repressor releases its claws by which it holds on to the operator, and the operator is now free. When the repressor releases its clause, the green light turns on the operator, and the enzyme RNA polymerase now moves forward on the DNA, transcribing the genes Z, Y, and A. So, what does this actually mean for the bacteria? Well, in the simplest words, this basically just means that the bacteria only produces enzymes for digesting lactose when lactose is actually available and not all the time. When lactose is absent, the repressor attaches to the operator in a bound state, and this makes the whole lac operon turn off. When lactose is present in the cell, it fits into the site on the repressor protein, which releases the repressor from its bound state. This is the on position of the lac operon, in which the genes ZYA are transcribed by RNA polymerase. So this LAC-I gene and repressor protein is one control mechanism in lac operon, and the basic function of this system is to turn on the lac operon only when lactose is present. But there is one important catch here, that the presence of lactose is not the only factor required to turn on the lac operon. The other factor that must be met here is the absence of glucose.
In this session, you have learned about regulation of gene expression and the lac operon. With this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you and have a nice day.